A very good morning and welcome to this Tuesday morning's edition of Newsline. I'm Arundhati Mudannaik and joining me is senior journalist Faraz Shaukat Ali. Good morning, Faraz.
Very good morning, and how are you, Arundhati?
Very good, Faraz. And as always, we will be briefing you on the headline-making stories of today's newspapers. Faraz, if I'm not mistaken, today is a very historic day for Sri Lankans as the 8th Parliament is going to convene.
Indeed, indeed.
And it's apparently the 15th overall, but 8th since the constitution was amended. And according to the Parliament agenda, they are to appoint the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker, and thereafter all the ministers or the MPs to be sworn in.
That's right.
And keeping in line with that note, we'll go to our first headline from Daily Mirror, which says, Maithripala Sirisena tells opposition to decide who will be their opposition leader. It says President Maithripala Sirisena at a meeting yesterday told leaders of 4 political parties in the United People's Freedom Alliance that he would leave it to the opposition parliamentarians to select someone of their choice as opposition leader. And also for us, now here it says opposition leader appointment postponed, so that means it's not going to happen today.
I think it will happen a little bit after the...
Yeah, it says the appointment of the opposition leader will not take place when Parliament meets today, as a final agreement had not been reached among political parties in this regard. And then it says the post of Speaker, Deputy Speaker, as we said, Deputy Chairman of committees would be filled today. Now, if we move to the third headline in the Daily Mirror, it says Ranil states criteria for portfolios. Does that mean he has put on some ground rules for...
Yes, I think he's put some house rules.
Okay.
It's a good indication of how, hopefully, of how he intends moving forward. So he's laid down some rules, which is not a bad thing, considering we had such lawlessness in the past.
Okay. So let's move on to Daily News, where Vimal Veeravansa apologizes to President. He says for using abusive language during presidential election campaign. And President tells Veeravansa, let bygones be bygones. Now, does that mean Vimal Veeravansa is going to offer a ministerial post?
Vimal Veeravansa is saying sorry. What he's really done is he's done a U-turn. It's completely, there's no other way of describing it. It's a U-turn. And the President has shown great understanding of these matters, and he has suggested that bygones be bygones, which is all very good, because this is a new ambience, and we must move forward with a lot of confidence and look forward to this new Parliament with good governance and so on. It's a different era now.
So hope it will be. So if I talk about the composition of the Parliament this time around, so what kind of an analysis can you give us regarding the composition?
Well, the most striking feature of this Parliament is that we have the former head of state taking his place.
Mahinda Rajapaksa, yes.
Indeed, President Mahinda Rajapaksa will now sit in Parliament, which is quite something. It says something about democracy and the way we practice it here. Nothing wrong with that. We also have, so then we have the father and son, of course, President Rajapaksa and his son Nama. And then we have a hubby and wife team in the form of Daya and Anoma Gamage. We have 3 chief ministers too, Mr. Dayasiri and Harin Fernando and Prasanna Ranatunga. So a nice all-round figure.
And also another father and son, Rajendra Senaratne and Chatura Senaratne.
Oh, right, I've missed that one out. So there you are. So family business is...
quite in play.
Yes, it's still there. Nothing wrong, especially when the 2 families are so strong, clearly, to have so many.
So on a much lighter note, so what's the fashion going to be in Parliament? Is the sash still in fashion, or will it be
you
more
You mean the Satake?
Yes, the Kurhan Satake.
Well, I don't know if it'll be that colour, but perhaps we'll see more Savile Row suits than nationals, but I rather suspect we'll see a lot of national today.
No, not in the Western outfit like
No.
what Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe
Mr. Wickremesinghe has a penchant for a jacket, so we'll see him looking smart in a nice suit, as befits the Prime Minister of our country.
Okay. Let's move on to our next newspaper. Yes, that's quite a story for us here. The AG tells court that initial evidence unfolds KP not a terrorist. Well, that's news. Let's move on to the details of the paper. It's from Ceylon today. Senior State Counsel Priyanth Navan informed the President of the Court of Appeal, Vijit Malagari, yesterday that nothing had come to light with regard to Shanmugam Kumaran Tharmalingam alias Kumaran Padmanathan, a Liberation Tigers of Tamililam leader's involvement in terrorist activities.
This is KP you're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. But this picture contradicts what it tells, where he's in military outfit, seated right next to Prabhakaran.
I think, Arundhati, if you were to introduce our guest, some light can be thrown on this matter. He's from a legal background, isn't he?
That's right. We have former president of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, attorney at law, Mr. Upul Jayasuriya. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Arundhati.
Would you like to give us the legal background of this story where it says...
Why is that, Upul? Why is the AG now saying that KP is not a terrorist?
Well, I must say, it's sad to say that the AG has mixed up his role. And, well, everyone knows in this country, it's not a rocket science for somebody to just go through the Google or YouTube and then find out the statements that are made by the LTT about KP as having taken over the LTT after the death of Prabhakaran. And the amount of money that he was holding in Malaysia, and that he was the one in charge of the coffers of the LTT and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
The AG should go through those files. AG is not a man who should be sitting and then warming his chair and then wait for the file to come in there. If he doesn't have the file on his table, he must call for it. He must call the police and all the other people who are relevant, and then give them orders to submit all the information. But what has happened is he has switched his role, and then he says, I don't know on whose instructions, or whether he's doing it on his own accord. He's saying a thing like this. Now, these are the same Attorney General who said that he is not proceeding with the prosecution of the avant-garde matter. Now,
that was very strange.
That is very strange.
Yeah.
Now, if I will take a few minutes on this, avant-garde matter, the Attorney General's Department, usually the matter is decided by a State Council. But here the matter was decided by an additional Solicitor General, a President's Counsel, Mr. Navaratna Bandara. He submitted a report and then said that yes, there is sufficient evidence to have them indicted. What did the Attorney General do? If he disagrees with his opinion, he must send it back to him, asking him to consider certain aspects that he thinks have not been considered in taking such decision. He didn't send the file back to Mr. Bandara, President's Counsel. He sent the file to 3 other very senior officers. The most senior in the criminal division is Mr. Jayanta Jayasuriya. He's the one senior next to the Solicitor General. Then he also sent it to Kapila Vaidratha, Additional Solicitor General, President's Counsel, and also to Additional Solicitor General Sarath Javan. Now 3 of them. All these 3 gentlemen independently advised the Attorney General, yes, there is evidence to charge all these 5 people, including the owner of Avant-Garde and the other directors, and including the former Defence Secretary. What did the Attorney General do? If he still disagrees with such recommendation, then he must call them and then ask them to discuss or analyze the area that he thinks have not been taken into consideration. He didn't do that. All of a sudden, everyone knows Attorney General is not a criminal counsel. His forte is in the civil, writ applications and fundamental rights and so on. But he has never been a criminal counsel. He decided on his own, probably with the Solicitor General. He too has not been a counsel practicing in court. He has been a Secretary of Justice for the last 12 years. So these people should go on the advice of more experienced people who are in the department. They didn't do that. They have just taken an arbitrary decision, I say it with responsibility, to discharge the 5 people from the avant-garde prosecution. which is shocking.
What did, are you familiar with the details of the case? What do you think, what did the Defense Secretary, the former Defense Secretary, do wrong there? Is it that was it the whole thing that's wrong, or what was there?
Many things. Many things, including how did these arms come to be possessed by Avantgarde? Right. These arms have been released, some have been released by Lanka, which is a state-owned company.
Yeah.
And that company was reporting to the Defense Secretary. So all what has taken place was done with the connivance or the approval of the Defense Secretary. Right? He can't plead ignorance to that.
Right.
So giving arms or holding arms without any license is totally prohibited under the Firearms Ordinance. Now, if taken into custody, there is no bail other than released by the Court of Appeal. So these are very serious offences. Just imagine the number of nearly 3,000 weapons were found in the possession of this ship called Mahanuwara at the Galle Port. Galle Port is within the territorial jurisdiction of Sri Lanka. Right? And they are gone scot-free. They did not possess licenses.
And do you think that it's within the remit of the Defense Secretary to release weapons to private companies and so on?
To release weapons and then to register them and then grant approval, there is a procedure that is laid down in the Offensive Weapons Act and also the Firearms Ordinance.
Right.
Now that is the procedure, and no other procedure that can be allowed in granting licenses.
And that procedure was not followed.
And that procedure was not followed, and there was no license that had been issued under the Firearms Ordinance that was in the possession of the Avantgarde owners for these weapons.
And do you think then that the former Defense Secretary was acting on a solo adventure?
Yes, for obvious reasons. For obvious reasons. But it's shocking. The Attorney General's role and the Solicitor General's role is shocking.
It's deeply worrying when it's put like that, because we also have the Presidential Commission of Inquiry who are expecting the former Defense Secretary to arrive at their offices for a public hearing on the 3rd of September. But we wonder if that will actually happen.
Well, that's a separate parallel inquiry that is going on.
Yeah.
So they have to comply with the summons of the Presidential Commission. Otherwise they can be dealt with separately. But the Attorney General, it's a sad situation where the Attorney General's view has been rejected by the Presidential Commission and they have started their own investigation, which is again a sad situation. So, but I'm happy and appreciative of the fact that at least the Presidential Commission have had the courage to go into this matter, irrespective of the fact that the Attorney General has come to this decision. There's another matter. The FCID has so far sent more than 20 files. We understand more than 20 files to the Attorney General's Department after concluding inquiries. Now the public are making accusations against the government and the FCID and everyone. But the matters are with the Attorney General. What is he doing? He's sitting on it. He's sitting on it.
So do you think the senior DIG of the FCID, Mr. Ravi Vaidya Lankaris, he's got one hand tied behind his back? Because obviously he's doing his job, but there's nothing's moving forward because it's getting stuck.
These 20 files have been lying there for nearly 3 months.
Right.
Not only that, in another matter where a former minister is to be charged, now this file was, the investigation file was there lying with the CID for more than 2 years. Now this file was sent to the Attorney General's Department with the change of the government on the 8th of January. But still, even for the last 6 to 7 months, even that matter, he is sitting on it. It's so strange. I think the Constitutional Council, once empaneled with the new Parliament, they have a more responsible task to do. Is not only appointing people, they must also take steps to remove people from office if they don't do their job.
That's right. I mean, if we are in a private company, and if a manager isn't performing, I'm sure HR will get instructions to ask him to be moved away or to step down. And we don't see that happening often enough in Sri Lanka. Is there a process that can happen, or is he Attorney General for a fixed period?
It has never happened in the past. The Attorney General position is such a honorable position where even the ministers, when they seek the advice, they have to go to the Attorney General's department, seek an appointment, and be there in the waiting room until called in. That's the kind of level of honor and dignity that they ought to maintain. But in the present day, the entire thing has been ruined by those people who hold such posts. One can't command respect. They can't demand respect. They can earn it. So this is something that has been happening in the recent past with a department that has more than 100 years of history, glorified history. I too have been a member of the same department, but it's very sad to see the plight that is there now plunged into.
So lack of leadership there then.
Diverting the questions into more political angle, again coming back to the composition of the parliament. Now, it has been more than 2 weeks since the election, and why are they taking such a long time in appointing the cabinet? Is it to make a good cabinet, or is there some turmoil?
Well, Arundhati, gentlemen are never in a hurry, so there's no indecent hurry. However, to perhaps explain this a little bit more, perhaps we should ask Mr. Jayasuriya this question. Why is there this delay?
I think there is a constitutional issue. Under the new 19th Amendment that has been brought in, if the number of ministers that can be there in the cabinet is 30. But if it is to exceed 30, it has to be only in the instance of a national government. Now, there is supposed to be a national government that's been formed, and in such a situation, the concurrence of the parliament has to be obtained to increase the portfolios in excess of 30. So for that, the parliament has to be promulgated, and then the approval of the parliament should be obtained. I think that's the process they are now taking.
And this national government, the constitution sort of defines the national government as the majority party forming a government with the other parties in the plural. Does that mean 2 is enough, or can, as one suggestion was made, can it be the majority party with even one other party? Can that also be constituted as a national government?
Well, when you look at the composition of the parliament, the ruling party, the UNFGG, or the United National Party, and the SLFP form nearly 200 seats.
Right.
That's the largest majority of the parliament out of the 225 seats.
Right.
So in that context, I think it is a national government. If you form an alliance with the SLFP or the UPFS.
Yes, now they've signed a coalition. But in that case, if we use that sort of argument, then shouldn't the TNA be the official opposition, and shouldn't the leader of the opposition come from that party?
Not necessarily. Depends on how many of the members of parliament from the UPFA or the SLFP would support the national government.
Right.
There are some members of parliament who
don't,
not to. Then if they are larger than the number of MPs that are there in the TNA,
so
then
that
form
group,
the opposition.
I see. So that group. So we may even see them electing Mahinda Rajapaksa as the leader of the opposition.
Technically,
Technically, it's possible.
Technically, it's possible.
Yes, another headline that we kind of missed from Daily News earlier in the day. Recently, Karunaraman, speaking to a Tamil journalist, has said, a Hindu journalist had said that Prabhakaran had in fact was not shot but committed suicide, and Fonseca refutes Karuna's contention that Prabha shot himself.
Now Field Marshal, then General Fonseca, has made it very clear, abundantly clear, and he has maintained his stance consistently that Prabhakaran was shot in action, and there's no deviation, and this is some mischievous act going along to cast some doubt. It makes for a few column inches of print, and valuable airtime talking about this. The fact is Prabhakaran was killed, and he was killed in action, and do you know what? 95% of this country don't care two hoots on how Prabhakaran, this terrorist, was killed. It's history, and a jolly good job that he was killed, and I really don't care how he was killed.
Definitely. To wrap up today's edition, I think you have food for thought.
Indeed, talking about this new start and so on, I thought we'll leave you with this thought. What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. On that note,
we wrap up today's edition of Newsline, and we'd like to thank Mr. Pulchar Surya, our guest this morning, and also Faraz, thank you once again for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us, and hope you join us once again tomorrow. Have a good day.